I predicted the 2005 January floods at Carlisle 2 days before it hit. So I drove away to Newcastle 2 days before, so I missed it. And when it came up on the TV news, they showed an aerial picture, and Carlisle just looked like were a big brown puddle, and that freaked me out. And after that, I told my father that it would happen again, and that they hadn't built the flood defences high enough. And then 10 years later, we got Storm Desmond, and it happened again, and it breached some of the defences. So, yeah. Sometimes you get a funny look off someone because they think I'm sort of trying to read their minds and stuff. And when I went to, I had a girlfriend in Sunderland a few years back, and her father was an army corporal, and I would just glance over to him, and he would put his hand to his head like that sometimes, and he would go, "Get off my book," and what he was saying was stop sort of trying to read my mind or read my thoughts. I really sort of freaked him out. So yeah, quite often. I'll just avoid something, or I'll stop in. Yeah, quite often that happens. And there was one case when I was in student digs. We were looking at I think it was a European football game or a foreign football game, and it was 0-0 for quite a while. I remember looking at the screen and going, "Oh yeah, Rivaldo will go berserk in the last 10 minutes and it'll be 3-0, And we switched it off, and then we put it on later on, and it came on, Rivaldo hat-trick, 3-0. So,
wow.
Yeah. Definitely some kind of psychic ability runs through some of my family.
Have you had any past life regression?
All they've told me is I seem drawn to transport, as if I was maybe a driver before, and I seem to be highly drawn towards education establishments, as if I was maybe a teacher as well. So those two things seem to stick out: driving or transport, and something to do with education, possibly teaching. Yeah. It can be quite unnerving sometimes, yeah. To the point where if I think I can sense something bad happening in the future, it can stop me going out, so it can have sort of a negative impact as well. If I can sense something bad happening, instead of sort of maybe trying to defend against it or do something slightly different, avoid it, get around it, I would maybe be reclusive or stop in, so it can also have a negative effect sometimes. Just it'll be good to carry on with a bit of gardening or conservation work. It's good to be back in the northeast where it's a bit sunnier, and I'm up on a hill, so I'm not as concerned about getting floodwater lapping at my front door and stuff. I think the floods will get continually worse and worse until sort of sun either solar activity lessons or the photon belt emanations lessened for a while, or we finally let out some of the patents that have been withheld and stop polluting with the factories and the internal combustion engine and things like that. But no, I'm just glad to be able to continue on with some contact reports, and it's things that are relevant to me through my studies, so I understand a little bit of what they're on about, and I'm able to write it down and pass it on and so. Yeah, they were saying you use music as a block. So if you notice, I have a lot of music gadgets and iPods, MP3s, and waterproof music and everything everywhere I go. That blocks ELF. But also the Pleiadians put on through their technology. I've no idea how they do it, but they're able to affect a block 24/7, and that's in situ and on the go. So I don't know how they do it. I'm just glad they're able to do it. So.
How did you ask? You just asked them?
Yeah. Clinical psychologist back in Cumbria said once, is there no way you can ask them for help with regard to that? And I thought, well, they won't be able to do that. I thought, well, no, I'll request it telepathically anyway and see what happens. And fortunately they were able to put this block on. So
like you sort of like got a feel of how horrible it is to have V2K.
Yeah.
I know how horrible it can be.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I've experienced it twice in my life.
Yeah.
But never again after that. So I talk about the silent V2K that still is a mind control form. They've just cranked down the volume, but they're still dictating, you know, and then you just do some stupid shit, basically.
Yeah.
You know, self-sabotaging, etc., etc. I don't know what is worse, even knowing or not knowing with the silent one.
No, just like a telepathic request to my Pleiadian friends. Could you protect me from the mind control programming? Can you block it where I am in, when I go about my business, moving about on the go? Can you block it, in situ when I'm at home or wherever I might be? And they said, yeah, we can do that. So they effect that for me, and I'm very grateful for them for having that ability and being able to do that. There's a lot of contact reports through about that, where they're saying, they butchered lots of people through religious mistakes, religious delusion and church courts and things, and they haven't really had a legitimate reason to do it. Yeah, there's a few contact reports about that from Billy Meyer. I like to think so, yeah. With sort of the LGBT movement and equality and kick racism out and all those sort of things. Yeah, it'd be good if it could lessen and stop altogether, I suppose. Yeah, because it's more dense than that. It's to do with the atom explosions and tests way back from the 50s, and George Adamski tried to tell them through his contacts that this has a very, very long-term impact on the Earth, not just a couple of months or a few years, decades, centuries, thousands of years. So the rainfall's coming down heavier, and it's not necessarily taking up all that much more volume. So the engineers and that, don't see any vast increase in volume in the reservoirs and things, but the body of water there is heavier. and that's why some of the dams are failing now. Yeah.
And well, your background is, environmental. So what's going to happen with the chemtrails? Because this is connected here. This is it.
Some of it's to try and see if there are UFOs in the atmosphere, so as they can shoot them down. And I think some of it's to try and sedate the public through the food and the water, because we're waking up. And I think some of it could be a deception because of this photon belt. They think the world's going to fry and all the water's going to evaporate away and everything, so they think they've got to put some kind of an artificial cloud cover over the top, and they don't have to do that, Some of it's silver nitrate, I think. Some of it's heavy metals, and I think they're even putting some kind of CFCs up there, some kind of, and they already know that increases ozone depletion and the ozone hole problem. So it's absolutely.
There's no warming of the climate. There is. How can I say? There is the climate is getting colder.
Yeah.
Warm countries are getting colder, and there's no sun in the sky because it's all cloudy, full of chemtrails.
Yeah.
I was in Egypt. It was cloudy. There was no sun.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the sunny country.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no sun.
Well, I reckon we're in for could be in for a mini ice age, a 1 day minimum, because there's been no real sunspot activity on the latest 11-year cycle. But there's also the effect of the photon belt as well. So, and what we've noticed is the diurnal range seems to be increasing, which is the coldest minimum and the hottest peak. That the diurnal range there seems to be increasing. So. But it's mixing up more, it's getting more intense, and they're saying part of that is just Mother Earth, the Gaia reaction to all our pollutants and stuff, and it's cleansing, it's a cleansing effect. So. I just think that Mother Earth, whatever we throw at it, Mother Earth will heal herself and clean whatever we throw at it. And it connects to the sun as well through a thing called stellar immunoresponse. So it can get different energies off the sun as well.
Do you get any dreams? Do you record your dreams?
That's really irritating. That I used to dream quite a lot, and have like really predictive dreams and things. And they were saying that this wireless technology would come in 20 years ago, and that's coming in now. And they say we'd have flying cars, and they're just starting to bring out flying taxis and things. But I had out-of-body experiences as well a few years back. But for quite a while now, I haven't been able to dream very much at all, and it's really annoying that I can't remember dreams at the moment. It's quite irritating, that, yeah. Yeah, it'll just have been yesterday, I think, when they were trying to intimidate me, not to do me talk and that, or not to say too much about the base. And right away, I got like a tinnitus in my ear, and they said just ignore that. Do your talk, do your speak. We'll block all that negative energy and that. So it was probably a bit of both, a bit of a surveillance team and a few reps usually try to. I've been nearly vegetarian now for over a year, apart from fish, and they're saying that due to sort of the mistreatment of animals that we've done up to now, and the fact that they say we're overpopulated and a lot of humans are going to die in sort of wars and natural disasters and things, they're saying that the animals are actually almost going to get their own back on us, because they'll eat our dead bodies basically wherever they find us. Yeah, I sort of see that in a way now, where you're getting a lot of bad people. They're shortening their lives. They're having fights and wars, and they don't seem to last very long. But right at the same time, you've got more good-intentioned, responsible people living in the same world and trying to invent things and improve things, make things better. So I see that sort of happening now already, in a sort of way. Yeah, they just gave me two fairly important contact reports from Billy's farm, and I was quite astounded by them because they're very, very relevant to me at this moment. The things I've been dealing with, and thinking about, are we going to be plunged into war because of Brexit, and if we get a no deal and things like that. And there's been a lot of sort of sectarian trouble brewing up in Glasgow and stuff, and there's a lot of marches, protests and what have you, and is that going to boil over? And there's another one about the death penalty, and should you take revenge on someone, and things like that. And they're saying if you go ahead and kill someone, even in the death penalty or in war, that makes you just as bad as them. So
yeah.
I thought there were two very appropriate and timely contact reports they sent me through to help me sort of understand the present times a bit better. So it was good to get a couple of contact reports there that were sort of like bang up to date and highly relevant to very recent times. And it even harks back to what my grandfather said. His experiences and what he always told me before he died was, that there are no winners in a war, Nick. He would say to me, no winners in a war. And it was at the end of the war, they were all celebrating, oh, we've won the war, and that. And just before the end of the war, he was pulled off a ship because he had, I don't know whether it was measles or chickenpox. He had some kind of an illness, so they pulled him off the ship so as he couldn't pass this contagion on to the rest of the crew. And shortly after that, the ship got a bomb down the funnel and wiped everyone out. So they were all celebrating the end of the war, and what he's celebrating for, just lost all my mates and the crew and everyone. So his lesson from all that was, there's no winners in a war, Nick. There's always pain and suffering and death on all sides. The reptilians have been trying to acquire Pleiadian technology for a long time, and they would exploit me to try and get it, basically. And a few years back, when I was on a base for a year, they acquired one of these Pleiadian craft. I mentioned it today, and I seen it in broad daylight hovering over the farmhouse, and they didn't have it very long. Pretty soon after, the Pleiadians grabbed it back, reacquired it. So, but the reptilians are obsessed with trying to get Pleiadian technology. and they almost fear this capability they have of being able to time travel. Because I have a little bit of psychic ability, and I'm in contact with them, they would constantly ask me, tell us the future. What's the future going to be? What's going to happen? What have they told you? Yeah, the reptilians are sort of about 7 foot tall, and they've got yellow eyes, and they're fairly tough, sort of green skinned, and they've got fairly powerful weapons as well. And irritatingly, they can be invisible. So, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that sort of the greys are almost like an autonomous, sort of robotic, computerized race, and they'll have like a swarm mentality as well, instead of being more of an ability to independently think on their own. They would all tend to like have the same sort of intent, same sort of thought, and they were acting like a swarm or a group. Definitely, yeah. I've met good reptilians as well. And they tell me the importance of sort of balance between sort of technology and nature. You can go too far down the technological path and not leave room for nature, and it can be disastrous for a planet. So yeah, I've met good reptilians as well. Yeah, the reptilians tend to be more physical with me. They'll follow me about, and sometimes they even guard my property and guard my stuff, but they'll always be invisible. But if any of my stuff's in jeopardy, they can fire weapons at people just to scare them away.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often the people be oblivious. They won't even know that there's reptilians there, and they won't even know that weapons have been fired at them sometimes. So. Definitely, some of the genetics that we have now, especially in the indigos, they have sort of enhanced DNA and different immune systems and stuff. And they're saying that with the photon belt and things hitting the planet, there's a reaction that takes place there with the sunlight and the photon belt, and it can enhance our immune systems. So, and sometimes the good ETs will abduct someone to intervene to give them some kind of a booster or some kind of an antidote or something to heal them and eliminate some of these viruses and things. I mean, if there's tried several times to sort of detain me or hand me over, because I won't work. I won't work for the military, or I won't work for the defence agency in official capacity, and that drives them. That drives them up the wall, like, because. But RC, they only want UFOs shot down, so they've tried several times to sort of detain me, to give me what they would call zero option, and I think that would just lead to me being in a military group, like in a retrieval team for the rest of my life, and I would only be doing one thing, and I would not like that at all, because I befriended them. I've got no intention of hurting them, shooting them down, or whatever like that. The armed forces, But I think it's a reptilian occupation force behind the armed forces, sort of controlling the armed forces and deceiving the armed forces. So not just them, any craft they can get, but specifically that's the one they're trying to get, the Pleiadian craft. I won a medical tribunal, and then they put me through rehab, which really helped. So come out after that, but having said that, and I never really got away because, well, I got away in a sense that I'm in the public arena and I'm in sort of Civvy Street territory, but every sort of activity that I'll try and do, they'll try and latch onto it, conservation work and things. They'll still, they'll fly the jet fighters over the top and stuff. So, but that's still a lot better than being sort of forced to be part of a military group and not. Yeah, shortly after my major wave of sightings, about 1992, when I really made contact telepathically, and had a lot of sightings out my bedroom window at a northeast suburb of Carlisle, and there was a time where I would used to nip over the back fence, and I would go and actually to a landing site, and I would shake hands with invisibles at the landing site, and there was tracks there. There was a burnt part in the field, and they even made I don't know how the hell they did it, but they even made a shape of a beam ship out of pink flowers, almost like overnight. And there was flattened grass areas. There was tracks and everything, and I was shaking hands with them. I could feel them. They were there, but they would remain invisible,
Yeah.
And have telepathic contact with them. But they really hammered me for that and chucked me in the hospital for a bit. And they tried to cover it up, saying, "Oh, it was the house builders there. It was just the contractors with a few tractors and diggers and that, And I knew it wasn't that." They made a landing site. They on the landing site, the flattened part, they made the shape of a beam ship out of the pink flowers, and they said they were making it as much of a sighting as an experience for me as possible, because they knew I would get brainwashed, and they were trying to give me something that I would remember.
Yeah.
So, but it took years for it to come back. They fairly hammered me, brainwashed me and erased me and stuff with ECT and that.
When was that?
Yeah, sort of 1994. Yeah. And the floodwater's heavier as well. So it's got stuff in solution, and it's got suspended solids as well. So it's heavier, and it's pressing down on the plates. So it could have a tectonic effect as well. I'm not sure whether it's there long enough to do that. It'll probably wash away, and it'll filter through the soil and stuff and the rock as it usually does. But it's just the volume of floodwater and the weight of it on top of the landmass on the plate that's having effect. They call it, I think it's isostatic depression. So it can press the plates down and cause pressure on the magma underneath. So. Not much I know about it really. I just know that a lot of the military stuff is sort of underground, and they took me to a level on the Sandysike base underneath. They did say what level it was, but I can't remember. And I wasn't there very long. that was to do something with my mind and that. But that was all sort of at night and in darkness, and I don't know what method they used to get me there or put me back into my house or whatever. But yeah, that's probably where they take a lot of the bodies and the wreckage and that underneath there. And there's quite a struggle going on there. They're trying to figure out the technology through sort of the downcraft they've got underneath there. And when I went to get interviewed by Miles there, I was unaware of how close we were to Porton Town, and when he said we were only 10 miles from there, I nearly upped sticks and shot out his front door, like. So he had to make a joke and calm me down, 'cause I had no idea we were that close to Porton Town. So because someone at Student Digs had said, will you help the which group, I can't remember which group he said now, will you help the government get an alien, because they want to figure out, Porton Down wants one, they want to figure out how to kill them because they've got acid for blood. That's what he said. So Miles really freaked me out when he told me how close we were to Porton Down. And when we went to Brogan's for something to eat, I picked out, there was a really tall, stocky bloke came into Brogan's. I picked him out. I knew he was a super soldier right away with my psychic ability, and I picked him out and said to Miles, that's a super soldier. And then an army bloke walked past, full combat gear in a red cap, so they were keeping an eye on us. But this big stocky bloke that came into Brogan's, I knew straight away he was a super soldier. So I'll let Miles know, just in case we had to, get out of there quick. Yeah.
What do you want to add? Anything, Nick?
Yeah, just I'm glad I'm back living in the northeast where I've got more sunshine, and able to sort of crack on with some contact reports and get them out there, and hopefully they can make a difference.
Very good. Do you practice any meditation, some sort of grounding work in order to, or you're just synchronized, you're constantly connected?
I find I have little walks in nature reserves, that helps. And music, different types of music works for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,